All right, question number 4. Alex Limited manufactures bicycles. Complete the following table. Complete the following table showing the fixed costs, variable cost, total cost, and unit cost at the different levels of production. Enter your figures for unit cost to 2 decimal places. All other figures must be rounded to the nearest whole pound. Okay, now if you permit me, I'll work this one on the Excel. So I have the units, I have the fixed cost, then we have the unit costs. Okay. I remember these ones are all in pounds. Okay, so what we have here is 250 units, 50,000, 65,000, 115,000, and the unit cost here would be 460,000. Then you have 1,000 units here. Then you have 3,750 units here. So what the question wants you is for you to fill all these grade areas like this. So they basically want you to complete all these blank parts here. All right, very important. Now, for you to be able to answer this question, the first thing that you must sustain in your mind is the definition of each of these costs. A fixed cost is a cost that remains the same regardless of the level of production, which means regardless of this level of production, the fixed cost would be the same. It means the fixed cost here would be the same at 50,000 across all the 3 levels. That's number 1. Number 2, a variable cost is a cost that changes when you change the level of production. So that is the definition of the total variable cost, which is this. Then the variable cost per unit, a variable cost per unit is the same across all the 3 levels. So for us to be able to establish the figure for the variable cost per unit, we'll take the total variable cost divided by the number of units, and this in this case here would be this 65,000 divided by the number of units here, which is 250,000. So that will give us the variable cost per unit, which is the same across the 3 levels. So for us to get the total variable cost here, this will be the number of units produced multiplied by the variable cost per unit. So in this case, in the case of here, the number of units here are 1,000. So that will be 1,000 multiplied by the variable cost per unit of 260. You get the total variable cost. The same thing here. It will be the number of units, 3,750, multiplied by the variable cost per unit of 260. You get the total right there. Okay. Then the total cost here is the fixed cost plus the variable cost. For example, this one, 50 plus 65. So it's the same thing here. So it's 50 plus 260, 50 plus 975. That is what gives us the answers here, which are these. Okay. And then lastly here, we have the unit cost. The unit cost here is the cost per unit, the total cost per unit. This would be the total cost divided by the number of units. For example, this 460 here is 115 divided by 250. So it's the same thing here. This one here would be the total cost of 310,000 divided by the number of units, 1,000. This one here will be the total cost divided by the number of units. That's exactly what you get. Okay, so if we write this, remember the question says all other figures must be rounded to the nearest whole pound. Okay, must be rounded to the nearest whole pound. So all these should be to the nearest whole pound, like that. So this would be 50,000 here. And then we have another 50,000 here. Then this one you have 260,000. Right here, and then this one I have 975,000. Then you have the total cost here. Then you have this. Then the unit cost. Then this last one here. Okay, very good. Then the last part of this question says complete the following statement by selecting the appropriate option from each pick list below. The variable cost per unit, gap 1. Gap 1 here is the variable cost per unit remains the same. It remains the same. This one here. The variable cost per unit remains the same at the different levels of output, but the dash per unit decreases. Now this one here would be the fixed cost. The fixed cost per unit decreases. Okay, very important. This one here, the fixed cost. The fixed cost per unit decreases, and hence the unit cost. The unit cost here referring to the total cost. So if the variable cost per unit is the same and the fixed cost per unit decreases, yeah, the total cost here will ultimately also reduce. So this one actually reduces, and I can illustrate that for you. Okay, I will illustrate this thing for you in an Excel sheet. All right. So this is the position. Let me just illustrate this thing for you in this Excel sheet here. You realize I have told you here concerning a variable cost per unit. Then you can have the fixed cost per unit. Then you have the unit cost. Okay. You can have this. Of course, from this question here, we already established that the variable cost per unit is 260. That one remains the same. So this is 260 across all these three levels here. But then the fixed cost per unit here, I say the fixed cost per unit here, as the level of production increases, the fixed cost per unit will keep on reducing. Okay? Why? The fixed cost per unit is the total fixed cost divided by the number of units. So you will see when the number of units is 250, the fixed cost per unit will be 50 divided by 250, which is 200. Now you will see as the level of production increases like this figure here keeps on reducing. It can be 200. This one will be lower than 200. So this is 50,000 divided by 1,000. So the fixed cost per unit has reduced from 200 to 50. And this one will also reduce because the number of units here are more. As the number of units increases, the fixed cost per unit reduces. So you will see this one will be 50,000 divided by 3,700. So this is 13. So you can see this one is reducing, which is consistent with the answer that we put here. So the variable cost per unit remains the same at different levels of output, but the fixed cost per unit decreases. And hence, what will ultimately happen to the unit cost, the total unit cost? Now you will see the total unit cost here, when the level of production was 250, this one was the variable cost per unit plus the fixed cost per unit. This is what gives us the total cost. So you will see here the total cost here. When this one remains the same and this one keeps on reducing, this one will also reduce. So you see this one here, this plus this, this plus this plus this, so it keeps on reducing from 460 to 310 to 373, which is really the same as what we calculated here. So you see it keeps on going down. Okay? Good.